Mr. Dwarkanath, Mr. Chaturvedi, all the trustees of the Dr. Pritam Singh Foundation. Congratulations to the authors of the book, Dr. Asha Bhandarker and Subir Verma. I think it's a great privilege to see Subir Verma again. He helped me many years ago to train the sales force of Nestle India. And thank you, Mr. Dwarkanath. You have been more than generous to me, more than kind to me, given me more kudos, more praise than I deserve. But I humbly accept your kind words as an elder. I'm younger to you, and also as somebody that I deeply respect in all the professional acquaintance that we have had. Today we are having the launch of the book Role of Boards, Building Sustainable Competitive Edge. That has been not only authored by Dr. Bhandarker and Dr. Verma, but also by the venerated Dr. Pritam Singh. I have had the privilege of meeting him a few times, but I have not had the fortune to know him as intimately as many of you have on this call. And I think I did lose out that in life, but I know I'm very fond of Kabir Dohas, and I believe that what Kabir said 600 years ago is so relevant about mankind today as we go through this pandemic, and also about people. And so there are two Dohas I would like to dedicate to the memory of Dr. Pritam Singh. The first one is Kabir said, Vriksha kabhuni falbake, nadi na siiche neer, parmarat ke karane sadhun dara sarir. Vriksha, the tree never eats its fruit. The river never drinks its water. For the sake of humanity and mankind, the sadhu, the wise man, is born on earth. I think Dr. Pritam Singh exemplifies that it was not for his cause, but for the cause of greater humanity that he has shown on this planet and given us the benefit of his wisdom. The other on leadership. Kabir said, बड़ा हुआ तो क्या हुआ जैसे पेड़ खजूर पंछी को छाया नहीं फल लागे अति दूर. This is the antithesis. बड़ा हुआ, if you are big, what is the point of you being like a पेड़ खजूर, that you are so far up in the sky that neither the fruit nor the shade for the birds is possible. And I think that's one of the challenges of leadership that we have. In today's materialist society, in today's society, where greed, where becoming big, where owning, where showing, and where possessing is more important than giving. And I think it is men like Dr. Pritam Singh who made a difference to the planet and to the way in which the Indian ethos of management has developed. When Mr. Dwarkanath had approached me, I told him, I said, look, I am too humble a person to talk about such a lofty subject, and especially on a book. And he told me, he said, no, Suresh, you must talk to us on the role of boards and how they can make or mar the fortune and of companies. I think governance today, ladies and gentlemen, and many of you on the call are extremely wise people. So I really don't have anything more to add to your corpus of knowledge, except to say that these are distressing times. In the last couple of decades, I don't know how many corporate failures we can talk about, how many misdemeanors we can talk about, how many great enterprises have been brought down to their knees. And I think as is very well documented in the book that is being released today, I think numerous misdemeanors that is happening not because of the conceptualization of the wrong strategies, but really of governance misdemeanors of the highest order. And this is where I really believe that, if companies were to invest more in culture than they were to invest in capex, I think we will have a lot of very successful companies being run not only in India but across the world. So really, for me, the role of boards is really to look at probably three important aspects of an organization. Number one is the purpose and values of an enterprise. Nothing is more important today, ladies and gentlemen, in a pandemic where your existence, the existence of your organization, the existence of your team, the existence of your planet is being called in question. And yes, yet we are trying to get confused between why do I exist and what should I be doing. I think why do I exist is a very, very important question, not just for us as human beings, but it is also extremely important for corporates. So purpose and values of an enterprise are front and center. And in fact, the book also, of which I've had a sneak preview, talks about it in very eloquent terms. Number two, what is the business model of an enterprise? What is the enterprise all about? What is the business model? What are they trying to do? What kind of business are they trying to address? What kind of opportunity? What kind of competitive advantage? I think we've talked here, the governance of boards is expected to give a competitive edge. Does the board member even understand the business model of an enterprise? Or is he coming in there for no particular reason, except for the nice snacks and lunches and dinners, and of course the board fees and the commission that he gets at the end of the year? And in fact, going back to Indian traditions, we talk about, and we have talked about this from our scriptures, from the ways in which our families have been brought up, from the ways in which values have been imparted to us, whether it is in educational institutions or in organizations. There is a big difference between niti and niyat. So niti is as important as niyat in the way in which we do business. And Sant Kabir, who was not a corporate board member, said this beautifully about niti. He said, "Jati na pucho sadhu ki, puch lijiye gyan, mol karo talwar ka, pada rahen do myan." I think invariably what we do is we ask the jati of the sadhu. We don't talk about his wisdom. We are selling the scabbard and we are forgetting the sword. And I think therefore niti is the sword that we should be focusing on. And on niyat, he said beautifully, he said, "Aisi bani boliye, man khapa ko, auran ko sheetal kare, aaphu sheetal hoye." I think it's important that what you speak, how you speak, the manner in which you speak, the way in which you convey, the way in which you practice, the way in which you do, it gets you happiness, it gives you shanti, it gives you peace. Auran ko sheetal kare, aaphu sheetal hoye. So I think if there was a guru of corporate governance, I would give that to Sant Kabir in terms of all the things that he has said, which is so relevant today, which we forget. We talk about embracing Indian culture and values and Indian ethos, but where do we embrace it if we don't practice it? I think in this book that is being released today, there is a very important piece of research that they have done, which is front and center. And please pardon me, Dr. Bhandarker and Dr. Verma for letting the cat out of the bag. They've done a very good research that shows that in India and amongst many hundreds of boards, 70% of boards are what are called ornamental boards. This is Naam, Dam, the people with fame, with fortune, the well-known people who sit on boards, and that is 70% is what is called ornamental boards. 25% is what are called country club boards. मेरा भाई, मेरा भांजा, मेरा भतीजा, मेरा classmate, मेरा golf mate, मेरा tennis mate, they all become part of this. And in fact, the extreme, I was reading today, I shall not name the individual, very respected corporate leader had on the board, on their own governance council for one of the trusts that they opened, the gardener and the cleaner as board members. So therefore, it tells you that 25% of them are country club boards, and less than 5%. And that is the saddening part. Less than 5% of the boards that we have in India are actually committed boards, and that I think is completely bizarre. Because if you're talking about this country becoming an economic giant, an economic power, and we have always been talking about it, saying that the middle to large companies in this country have to be much, much bigger than what they are. The current numbers are just too small for us to become a global manufacturing giant. How are you going to have these giants coming up if you're going to have 70% ornamental boards, 25% country club boards, and only 5% of committed boards? I think it's points that you would definitely like to ponder with. And therefore, when I look at the role of boards, I really put purpose and values at the center of it. And there are really 4 B's, as I call it. I like alphabets a lot. So therefore 4 B's is what I would recommend. And what has come out from my experience, and I'm sure the experience of all of you, is far more than what I am going to expostulate. Firstly, building an authentic narrative and purpose. When you join a board, when a board member comes on, that board member must be curious to know कि भाई आप हो कौन? Why are you in existence? Who am I? Why by me? What do I stand for? What can I compromise? What can I not compromise? What are the boundary lines of the ethics that define me? You need to know that before you start looking at the P&L and the balance sheet and the beauty of the boardroom and the lovely glitzy chairs and tables and the beauty and ornateness of the dining room and the kind of food that is being catered for you. I don't think those things are really important. Authenticity of the narrative and purpose and building that is number one, the priority of the board. Number two, build a board composition with diversity to represent the governance that you want to stand for. If you have a crowd of monkeys, you are going to have a lot of mischief. Full stop. You're not going to have anything better than that. So therefore, I think it is very important for the company to also have a choice of board members that it has, also to choose them for diversity, also to choose them for the kind of expertise that they bring to the table. You know, I am extremely proud of the board that I sit on in Nestle India. 60% of my board are women, and women of the caliber of Dr. Swati Piramal, Rama Bijapurkar, and Rupa Kurwa. These are the top flight professionals of this country. They're not sitting there as ornamentation. They are sitting there because they have demonstrated excellence. And I think this is important if you want to run a good, ethical, honest, sincere, well-meaning, and well-governed company. If you don't have this, unfortunately, nothing much can happen as far as your company is concerned. Number three, benefit wisdom to the strategy, direction, and execution thrust of the company. A board member who doesn't understand the business of the company, who doesn't know the head or tail, doesn't understand the value chain, is least interested in the value chain, can add little to the strategy, direction, and execution thought. Why is this important? Because you need not only an inside-in thinking, you need an outside-in thinking. And the board member is able to provide you that outside-in thinking, saying, hey, there is something else that I have seen. I mean, many times I see in my board, there would be a board member who say, look, as part of the digital work that I am doing, I find that these trends are more relevant for you than you think they are. It sets us thinking. And I think that's important. That's why you have board members. The third one is bestow organizational accountability to purpose through people. I think ultimately it is important that the board member adds the organizational accountability and purpose through people. What is the kind of people strategy that this company has? I expose my board members to the N-1 and the N-2. We have lunches. They don't just sit and look at my face and I look at their face. They sit with some of my talent. I tell them, make your own assessment at the end of the lunch and let me know which of these you think has got a spark. Maybe there is a spark there that I have not noticed. And I think I'm fallible, like all human beings. It is important that they bestow the organizational accountability to purpose and through people. And finally, bless the enterprise with questions. I think the reason you have board members is to get the richness of experience, perspective, and questions. You don't get them there to just say, yes, sir. You get them there to ask you why, how, what, whom, your strategy, your investments, your opportunities, the questions on what ifs, the options on different priorities, the options on different options that you have for investments. I think these are all important questions. So really the 4 B's that I've put: building an authentic narrative and purpose, building a board composition with diversity to represent the governance that you want to stand for, benefit wisdom to the strategy, direction, and execution thrust, bestow organizational accountability to purpose through people, and finally, bless the enterprise with questions. Why, how, what, for whom, in terms of strategy and investments. And therefore, I would like to conclude with the following thoughts. What the boards are not is as important as what I've just said on what the boards should be. The 10 knots, I call it, NOTS. You can also paraphrase it as 10 knots, KNOTS. The knots and the knots are similar in this. Number 1, the board is not a rubber stamp. Number 2, it is not an unadulterated fan club or flank chahiye. So go to social media, get people to sing praises for you, get your employees to sing praises for you, phul mala pehniye, get your best self shown in the most prominent houses of media. Those are the ways in which you can build a fan club. Certainly your board members should not become your unadulterated fan club. They should respect you, but they should never love you. Respect is important, not loving. Because the day they start loving you, that day the wisdom shrouds their eyes and they are not able to see the truth for the fiction. Number 3, not scared to ask questions. I encourage my board members, ask questions. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my perspective is a bit different. Maybe I'm not understood the point fully. And when you ask them to ask questions, boy, do you get a barrage. And I think that's important. Number 4, not a substitute for incompetent operating management. Don't take your board member as being a substitute for an incompetent sales director, marketing director, supply chain director, corporate affairs director, human resources director, or any other director. They have come here to do a job. They have come here to provide their wisdom on what the organization should be and what they see it to be, not what you think you need them to do to advise you on operational issues. Not a short-term focus. This is one of the themes in the book, which is also interesting. A lot of time is going towards managing costs, revenue, and other P&L items. Nobody looks at the big picture on where this organization is going. So therefore, you can get some kind of tips, but your directors are not, or independent directors are not a short-term focused group of people. Number 6, not in cahoots for governance misdemeanors. ठीक है भाई, बहती गंगा में सब हाथ धो ले is not the philosophy that can be taken on corporate governance. If there are misdemeanors, the book interestingly talks about the time that is being spent in schmoozing the external auditors and the other compliance partners. That means somehow try and get a favorable report without qualifications seems to be the bigger task rather than really to dig out governance misdemeanors. Number 7, not only agreeably agreeing, but agreeably disagreeing. I think the tone and tenor of the board is agreeable agreeing and agreeable disagreeing. Not virulent, not insulting, not disrespectful, not demeaning. Respectful, but disagreements are also as welcome as agreeably agreeing to the proposals of the board. Number 8, not an opaque screen, but a mirror to management. You should be able to see your parchai in what they are saying. And I think that is the importance of a board. The board should be able to hold up a mirror to you and say, sir, this is what you think is your organization, this is what it is. I think it was said very well by Mirza Ghalib. He said, Umr bar Ghalib, ek hi bhool karta raha. Umr bar Ghalib, ek hi bhool karta raha. Dhool chehre pe thi aur aina saaf karta raha. That is the problem, that we keep looking at cleaning the mirror when the dirt is on your face. And that only a director, an independent director, should be capable of telling you that this is the problem. There's no other problem. Maybe a private chat, maybe a parlay, maybe whatever else you might choose. Number 9, not there for the board fees and commission alone. I'm not saying these are not important, but you're not there only for that. You're not there looking at only, if you really want competent and wise independent directors, get people for whom that money doesn't matter. I can say that with the board members that I've got. I mean, what I give is 2 penny. It's probably good enough for a small expenditure. It is not something that is substantive part of who they are and what they stand for. And I think it's important. If you want integrity, if you want ethics, if you want governance, that is what you need to do. And the last knot is not scared to depart if purpose, values, ethics are compromised. I think that is the strength of a board member, to get up and say, enough is enough. I have done my bit. I shall not take this anymore. And I need to walk away from your floor respectfully, with dignity, when my dignity still lasts. So these are the 10 knots that I thought I would share from my own experience. I'm sure Dr. Verma and Dr. Bhandarker can add vastly more to this. But I am really privileged to be invited today to witness the launch of this seminal book. I think it's a very, very important contribution. My congratulations to both the authors, and of course, my respectful salutations to the memory of the great Dr. Pritam Singh. I think governance, ethics, empathy, compassion, humanity, humanness, and being human. There is no better time than now in the pandemic to reflect upon and to look at dispassionately. I'm not saying this that you have to be emotional. I'm saying that अगर आपका घर अच्छा चलना है तो आपके लिए ये अनिवार्य है. You are not doing yourself a favor by misgovernance. You will do yourself and your future generations enormous favor by governance. So thank you all very much for your kind attention. I do hope this has been of some use to you, but as I mentioned to you, a lot of it is already well known to you. So therefore, I have not added anything to your repertoire except for repeating a couple of the dohas of Kabir, which I am very, very fond of, and therefore I thank you for giving me that opportunity. Thank you.